Hey, welcome back to Yvonne Wakefield's YouTube channel, where I will be reading from Babe in the Woods, Building a Life One Log at a Time, which is one of the first in a series of 3, Babe in the Woods self-portrait. And especially today is important, Babe in the Woods Path of Totality, because just over in east of this country, they had a Path of Totality, which was the premise of this title for this book, when I experienced the Path of Totality in 2017. So as Arturo, my producer, and I always have, before we start, I usually pour a scotch and soda, and I give him a beer. But this is a really cool alternative to like alcohol. It's non-alcohol. It's these little teeny Fever Tree ginger beers, and they are like really good. You can dress them up, you can dress them down, but one can fills a cup. And it's just perfect because you don't like have any of the excess stuff that doesn't, it goes flat and you don't want to drink it. You've just thrown half a can away. And that, buck a can, that's 50 cents down the drain. It's so refreshing. So, I just want to recap chapter 12, the last chapter. I got an unexpected visitor. My brother shows up, and I end up having his friend Brad help me. And I recount my early days of high school when I didn't have a home to live in, and I lived in a trailer. Which is actually probably one of the better times of my adolescence, is when I lived in a trailer with a friend. So we're going to begin chapter 13. It's called Sweating It Out. It's about 8 pages. And just remember, I just started to live with this guy, Brad. We didn't live, it wasn't sexual or anything. We were just friends. He was helping me out. And so, but I had never lived with, except my father, with a man before. I was still 18. I have lived with a woman before, but I have never lived alone with a man before. Now I do, and this one burps and farts and snores. I must live with this. Dictated by a dearth of housing on this mountain, Brad and I are roommates. We share space haunted with nasty vermin that steal, and I have lived with their kind before. At the building site, Brad and I work as compatibly whether Jim is around or not. Our working relationship as defined as our differences are apparent. Brad is over 6 feet tall and 225 pounds. I am 5'1" and 3/4 of an inch. In my hiking boots, I weigh 96 pounds on the same feed scale Brad weighed in on during our last trip to town. Naturally, Brad is able to do more of the heavy work than I can, so it is only natural that I do more of the grunt work, like cooking, as in dinner, which usually involves rice, legumes, and beans. I always make enough for leftovers, but there is barely anything left over. Brad has seconds and third, and the next night's dinner disappears. The belching begins first, then Brad's flatulence takes center stage. Beans, beans, the magical fruit, the more you eat, the more you toot. Brad rips along and laughs. So let's have beans at every meal. This review of elementary percussions has the run of the house, packed with an unimpressed audience of one and some stinky rats. After dark, there's no escaping the gas chamber because a great horned owl has taken residence in a nearby pine, and I'm afraid to go out after dark, thinking it will swoop down, mistaking my ear for a nesting mouse. I am too polite to yell, "Fuck the shut up," to my patooting roommate. This means I turn in early and read by flashlight inside my sleeping bag, zipped up over my head, a mere stove width apart from Brad. Soon his snoring starts in a low, throaty gawks and guttural grunts and progresses to a cacophony of sounds which are unprintable. I wrap my head in a flannel shirt. The pack rats take cover in the rafters. In the morning, we roll our sleeping bags, wash in the icy creek, and drink hot black coffee. While oatmeal and raisins bubble in a pot and the stove fire crackles, I use newspaper to wrap cheese chunks along with bread I learned to bake on the stovetop. After breakfast, we pocket our parcels and hike up to the building site, shouldering the axes and hatchets we have sharpened by candlelight the night before. Jim agrees to work from Monday through Wednesday, more days if Brad and I can't do the work without him. On days Jim is building at the building site, Brad and I enjoy some respite from each other. Their camaraderie also makes me keenly aware my authority as a backwoods contractor is minimalized when the men are together. They share skills and insights I've never had with tools too cumbersome for me to use. Their kindred experiences exclude me, like when a task requires muscle I lack, like when really heavy things need lifting, or when something needs to be hammered or sawn overhead and I am not tall or strong enough to do it. Or when I try to help and then have to back away from helping with a task I'm not up to completing. Although I work my best at trying to be one of the guys, some roles are inescapable, like the feminine flair I add to our humble noonday repast. A green canvas tarp covers the Echo. The Echo is the brand of my chainsaw. A green canvas tarp covers the Echo, peavey, shovel, post hole digger, 2 picks, trowel, hacksaw, axe, hatchet, draw knives, half a gallon can of turpentine, a jar of peanut butter, and the bow saw I use when I don't want to start the chainsaw for a simple job. At lunchtime, a time I've been thinking about since breakfast, if it's not raining, I take the peanut butter jar to the creek and arrange a simple fare afforded by the forest decorum. Stovetop bread, halved apples, and cheese are arranged on clean, curved bark chunks, set on a tablecloth of freshly snapped bracken fern. The 3 of us sit or haunch and spread thick gobs of peanut butter with sticks we've whittled on the spot onto bread I bake fresh every other day. If it is raining, we stand under a fir tree, forgo the primitive place settings, and dip bread and cheese, fondue style, into jars of peanut butter and honey. Every week we eat through 5 pounds of peanut butter and over 4 pounds of cheese, and this does not include the goat cheese and bread Jim adds to our collective meals. Weight gain and high cholesterol don't even cross our minds, and the high fiber bread keeps us regular. My usual stovetop bread is concocted as follows: 2 cups corn, 1 cup rye flour, 1 cup groats, 1 cup powdered milk, grated orange peel, crushed rose hips in season, a couple of fistfuls of sunflower seeds, cinnamon to taste, speck of honey, a dribble of honey, maybe more, and water until the mixture is thick as a soft brick. Mix the first 4 ingredients together and then add the rest, or just mix up everything at the same time. It doesn't matter. Luann had written down specific directions, but I didn't follow them, instead adding my own personal touch, like spit in the pan. When the cast iron pan is hot enough that spit sizzles, I pat the mixture inside and flip it after 15 minutes. When a pocket knife blade can be inserted and extracted cleanly, the bread is ready. Every other night I bake 2 of these loaves on the stovetop, and they are eaten in as many days. My diet had never been so simple and filling. When my parents were alive, meals were sit-down affairs around a maple dining set table with linen napkins and china. Every meal revolved around some sort of meat, usually beef. My mother ground sirloin steak into hamburger. I ate raw and gobbed straight from the extruder. I put down my foot when cow tongue sandwiches were served for lunch, opting for liver sausage instead. Besides tongue sandwiches, I never questioned what I ate because it was prepared with care, like my spit-sizzling stovetop bread. Then angina, uninvited, pulled up a chair beside my mother's plate, and meat took a vacation along with butter, eggs, and full-fat milk. The nitroglycerin canister on the chain around her neck seemed exotic at first. My mother only wore jewelry on social occasions, not around the house. When her smooth skin paled, she opened the bauble and popped a pin's head-sized pellet. Witnessing these episodes made the pendant lose its charm, and slowly my taste for stuff that contributed part to my heritage, heart disease. On the mountain, I don't think about what I do or not eat could be killing me. I'm working so hard and am so hungry all the time. I spread peanut butter thick as my thumb's width on palm-sized pieces of stovetop bread, thicker than my wrist, and top it off with a cheese brick. There must be over 1,000 calories in each bite and cholesterol enough to clog a Chicago sewer pipe. I eat cooked concoctions of rice, legumes, along with whatever fruit and vegetables will keep for a week in a wooden box filled with rocks sunk in the creek. I eat standing under a drippy tree or squatting on my haunches. My dining room table, the pine needly earth. I eat every piece and parcel of food I pack on my back and look around for more. Between meals, I snack on wild scallions and rose hips, suck nectar from lady slipper lobes, nibble on yarrow, and occasionally aphid-flicked Oregon grape leaves. My diet, like my life here, is becoming as wholesome as a mix of these natural ingredients. May has been a cranky baby, especially the tail end of this month. One minute the weather is sweet as it can be, the next nasty as nasty gets. A day that grows hot enough to weep the fat out of Tillamook cheese can quickly flip below 40 degrees. On hot days like Brad and Jim, I do not wear a shirt when we work. My disrobing rises eyebrows only at first. The novel of a teenage girl's working half nude along two men burns off fast. Brad side glances at Jim's chest and vice versa, their interest piqued by one another's sculpted abs and pecs because neither turns their eyes towards my breasts. Before beginning this log cabin, the only time I'd studied my body was in Dayton's lingerie shop while being fitted for a teen bra. Now as then, I glimpse part of myself still developing, but this time it's not my chest. I want abs like Jim's, chiseled flat. So does Brad. We are both jealous. The water bars I dug a few sunny days ago have done their work. The road has drained enough Jim can drive his truck all the way to the building site where the pier posts are cut to length and ready to set. In town, I buy 20 sacks of cement the same day I find a letter in my post office box from Leave Me Alone. She writes, she wants to visit. Jim hauls up 20 94-pound sacks of cement and we unload them on the road below the building site because the tires on his truck are too bald to make the final steep grade. I strain to lift one into the wheelbarrow, then push it up a hill, adding each sack to a new pile protected under a new green canvas tarp. When it is time to pour piers, I follow Jim's lead, slit open a sack, dump half of it in a wheelbarrow, and jump back when it poofs up. Then hoe it creamy with water in buckets and haul it from the creek. The wet cement is shoveled into pier holes. A few rocks are thrown in to help stabilize the mix. A second wheelbarrow is mixed from the remaining sack, then poured over the first layer and tamped down with a sawed-off tamarack limb. A 3-foot length of rebar is pushed exactly 2 feet down, dead center, into each solidifying pier. The top is finished smooth. Once the cement is cured, a post with a hole drilled in the bottom will be affixed over the shaft. This process is repeated 16 times over the course of weeks that include rain, shine, sweat, and haiku. Day after day of hard physical work is making me rock solid. For the first time in my life, I have abs. I'm kneeling over a pier, finishing the top, a clean slate on which, with the tip of my Girl Scout knife, I score words. Each of my piers is a 5-7-5 testament to my masonry skills, to say nothing of poetic injustice. Splat. Why are you writing that? Brad leans down for a closer look at the pier I inscribe. It's haiku, I say, wiping the blade clean before scratching in the next word. Huh? Brad's body casts a shadow as I write, welcome. Haiku, it's like a little poem. The whole thing is made up of 17 syllables, I explain. No one's going to read what you write once the post is set. Brad turns back to his pier and trowels the top smooth. He's right. Once the piers have cured and the posts are set, a tamarack butt will obscure the surface, like the verse Jim pencils on undersides of joists or in the corners of a windowsill. My words will be concealed, like a pack rat. I am good at hiding things. Over the dark edge, my heart jumps when you are near. Splat! A welcome move. I wipe the blade clean, stand up, stretch, look down upon my epitaph, and in the distance hear a motor. Jim said he wasn't coming to work today, and I'm not expecting my brother or visitors, so whoever is driving up my road is lost or looking for me. A red Land Cruiser pulls into view and parks below the building site. Leave me alone appears. I regret the day I left Minnesota and her with a hand-drawn map and a half-hearted invitation. Stop by if you're in the neighborhood. She arrives with a boyfriend for cover and a black and white kitten she hopes will be a key to extend a hospitality that I won't. You are not my mother. You are not my lover. Leave me alone. I tell leave me alone and the boyfriend to take the same road back down that I have taken up here to rebuild my life. If only I had a lock, I'd close it on the green metal gate. I hide the key in a loamy crack, the kind of place where pedophiles hide when their cover is blown. I have lived with this woman before. I must live with this. And the feelings she leaves me with are the kind that mar the bright spirits of altar boys, the sprite bodies of young athletes who grow into adulthood with memories that make them sick. Feelings and associations that haunt both genders, buggered by Savall-like personalities, a priest, a coach, an unremarkable uncle, a sweet-faced family friend, all feigning, misguiding, and manipulating adult trust. Leave me alone leaves me crawling with memories and my psyche so twisted and sticky with residue I can't wash it off or hide it in crack under a rock on this mountain or any other place. She also leaves behind a 6-week-old kitten I named Tamarack. Like the tree by the same name, it will support me. That evening, I sit in the creek and scrub with sand until blood rises from my skin like pitch from a fresh-skinned log. No matter the place or circumstance, after rising and before sleeping, I wash myself. At the old cabin, this takes some doing when ice water must be drawn, hauled, and heated by wood I've cut and set to burn. Bucket baths and creeks plunge me clean, but the pitch on my hands and arms always remain despite a good scrubbing. One issue of Mother Earth News in the collection I've packed up the mountain has an article on how to construct a Sioux Indian style sweat lodge. I buy some old blankets at a garage sale in town and Brad donates his oversized duck canvas. We construct a wigwam out of willows. The pole frame on a flat spot by the creek is covered by blankets, which will never be used for sleeping again, and sealed tight by the tarp. The dirt floor covered with fresh sage picked in the valley. Just outside the lodge, we heat stones red hot, carry them one by one on a metal shovel face, and gently place them inside a pit dug midpoint in the lodge. We take off our clothes, go inside, draw the flap tightly closed. The molten glow of the rock is the only light inside. We splash water from a bucket onto the rocks. They hiss, sizzle, plume up lung scorching steam. We stay inside and sweat to the point of nausea or fainting. Before succumbing to either, we flip open the flap and jump into the creek, cold enough to shock even the rowdiest silent heart. A good sweat can steam skin clean of pitch, a cold from a chest. A good sweat is purifying. Still, there are some cracks so deep even steam can't reach. By the end of May, the last trace of winter snow is gone and the spring is egging summer on. Every hill and dale is a wash of green, fern green, new growth green, tamarack green, kinnikinnick green, honeysuckle, low forest foliage green. Just walking up to the spidery outhouse, I get a high on chlorophyll. Ladies' slippers and Indian paintbrush line the path I've worn from the old cabin to the new building site. Tamarack follows, pouncing at low-flying things. I have made a bed for him on the tarp in the shade of a bullpine. Sometimes he will nap there or in the wad of my tossed-off shirt as I work. At lunch, I let him nibble my cheese. At night, he will sometimes offer me a mouse, once a rabbit, both eviscerated. In the sleeping bag, we also share. The piers need to cure more before posts can be placed, and that Wednesday seemed as good a day as any to kick back and enjoy the land upon which I work. While Brad stays at the old cabin, I hike alone to the building site and survey everything everyone told me I couldn't do. The soil around the piers is tramped down, still twigs, needles, and pebbles poke as I stretch out on ground that will soon grow a foundation. Tamarack nestles, kneads my chest with needly claws, and chews a button on my shirt, drools. I am his mother. On my back, one arm behind my head, the other jostling a suckling kitten, I'm thinking about my own doubts and the doubters who said I had my head in the clouds. And my grandfather who sailed sturridge class to America and built his dream. He wasn't one to sink mine. For my 18th birthday, he'd given me a little green gremlin. That's that American Motors car. And it became my ship. 2 goshawks break my reverie. I focus on them circling and screeching just beyond the tamarack stand Jim wisely told me not to cut. I brush off my butt and walk down to the grove, kneel by the creek, cup its bubbly water in my hand, drink, and jot a note on a pocket pad. Puffball clouds make up a dandy blue sky face. I pet the kitten. That afternoon, Jim and his family come to celebrate my 19th birthday. Luann has brought cinnamon bread and goat milk yogurt. I've splurged and bought strawberries and sparkling cider. We improvise shortcakes drizzled with honey and toast a day, clacking tin mugs. Sophie wrinkles her nose when she drinks the fairy water. After they leave, Brad and I lie in the sun, reading mail Jim brought up. I've given him a P.O. box key. One letter addressed to me goes unopened, straight into the fire, heating for purification. One is from an editor at Ms. Magazine. Earlier that month, I mailed a letter to the editor saying I'd like to write a story about building my cabin and would they publish it. No, the letter said, but the editor asked me to mail in excerpts from my journals. Another letter is from my sister. She will turn 18 in a week and receive her inheritance. I write back, come out here, buy land. They're not making it anymore. Before dusk, Brad and I take a sweat, plunge into the creek several times, and then change into clothes still fresh from coin-operated laundromats in town. We cook a pot of rice, lentils, and carrots on the sweat lodge coals, and then eat dinner outside. Just before dark, I'm thinking, Mark forgot about my birthday, that maybe this is a good thing, and he is busy building his cabin when I hear a long, hooey! And my brother crosses the creek. He has come bearing gifts, a bottle of Jim Beam, a buck knife, and the June issue of Playboy. Happy belated birthday, I say, handing the magazine to Brad and passing on the bottle. The hunting knife in a thick leather sheath will serve me long after my brother has lost his edge. All right, well, that was chapter 13. Next one is Cowboy and Elves. But just a side note about that letter I wrote to the Ms. Magazine way back then, it actually became part of an archive, and a filmmaker in Santa Cruz got a hold of it, and it is part of a documentary called Yours in Sisterhood, and I can provide that link next time. Anyway, I hope you guys all had a nice listening party too. And remember, subscribe to Yvonne Wakefield's YouTube channel. We need subscribers. It's free. Like, you can't beat that price. And we'll see you next week. Have a good week. And remember, hydrate with whatever beverage you have on hand. And Arturo's tipping his sessions beer. See you next week. Bye-bye.